Bantwana bam, I tried to do voice note izolo explainer price elasticity, but hey, I figured that through voice note anizuyibona exactly what I'm talking about, and because of that I decided that I should type as slides and also explain them through ne. For today's lesson, I want us to know these 6 objectives. I want you guys to know the definition of elasticity, the types and the kinds of elasticities in economics, and then we will focus more on the price elasticity of demand, focus on a mathematical representation of the price elasticity of demand, that is how to calculate the price elasticity of demand, also the graphical representation of a price elasticity of demand, and factors that influence the price elasticity of demand. Okay, we can now start with a definition of a price elasticity. We have a general definition of what is elasticity, ne? And we also have an economical definition of what is elasticity. I think for us to understand elasticity in economics, it's very important that we start by looking at the general definition of elasticity. Well, elasticity is defined as a measure of an object's response to a change of another object. Ne? So which means that you have 2 objects and you want to check the response of one object to a change in another object. Ne? Let's imagine taking an elastic band and stretching it. While you are stretching it, it gets bigger, but as soon as you stop, it retains its what? Its shape. So considering an elastic band, there's a person who's stretching the elastic band, and there is a response of the elastic band to the stretching. Yeah? So that's what we are actually talking about. Generally, we are measuring a response of one object when there is a change in another object. In economics, elasticity is defined as a measure of the responsiveness between 2 variables that are related. Ne? It's a measure of the responsiveness or the sensitivity between 2 variables that are related. In other words, it could be the sensitivity of quantity demanded or supplied to changes in what? In price. For example, how quantity demanded responds to a change in price level. Ne? Siyabona mos, price and quantity demanded, those are our 2 variables. So what we want to check is quantity demanded is our respond njani to price changes. Let's say, for example, there's an increase in price. Will people continue demanding the same quantity? Yeah. So the change between these 2 objects or these 2 variables is what we calculate and measure and call elasticity. Now we move on to the different types of elasticity. We have price elasticity of demand, which is the one that we are going to focus on today. We also have the price elasticity of supply. We have the cross elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand. So namhlanje we will be focusing on the price elasticity of demand. Already once we say price elasticity of demand, you can be able to see the 2 variables that we are going to measure, because izaba price and also quantity demanded. And then we move to the different kinds of elasticities that we have. We have perfectly elastic, we have perfectly inelastic, we have relative elastic, we have relative inelastic, and unit or unitary elasticity. We'll talk more about yenjani perfect elastic and which one is perfectly inelastic and all that. Okay, now let's move on to the price elasticity of demand, which is the one that we will be looking at today. Price elasticity of demand is the responsiveness or the sensitivity of demand to a change in price. It shows us what happens to consumer demand for a good when prices change. So it shows us what is it that will happen to consumer demand for a particular good when there are changes in price. Okay, let's take an example. If we are going to use the tuck shop, okay, for all the examples that we will be doing. If, for example, there is an increase in hot dog pie tuck shop, what we want to see is if there's an increase in price of hot dogs, will learners continue demanding the same quantity that they were demanding before kubeko increase? Yeah. So that's what we'll be measuring. The price elasticity of demand. It's demand. The two variables here are price and quantity demanded. Now we move on onto how to calculate the price elasticity of demand. The formula here is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Now, before you start with calculating, you need to understand or note that elasticity of demand, when you have calculated using that formula and you have received an elasticity of demand that is equal to 0, then you know that elasticity of demand is perfectly inelastic. When you have calculated and you get an answer that is less than 1 but not more than 0, then you know that the elasticity of demand is relatively inelastic. You calculate and you get the elasticity of demand a greater than 1 up to infinity, then you know that it is perfectly elastic, in more than 1, and it's going up there. And then if you calculate and you get the elasticity of demand that is greater than 1 but less than infinity, it is relatively elastic. If the elasticity of demand is equal now exactly to 1 kanye, it's 9.8, then you're 0.9 man, then you know that that one is unit or unitary elastic. If it's equal to 1, you know that it is unit or unitary elastic. Now, let's go deep into the formula, because our ones, they struggle with understanding the formula. Sithe formula iti percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in what? In price. Once you say percentage change, it means that there was a percentage before and then there's a new percentage. Then that way you are going to use the change that you are getting from the percentages. Okay, let me not make this complicated. Let me explain this formula in an easy way. As we're talking about a percentage change in quantity demanded, we are saying that we are actually saying change in quantity demanded divided by average quantity times 100. In order to get the percentage change in quantity demanded, we calculate this by saying change in quantity demanded divided by average quantity times 100. Okay. If it doesn't make sense now, it's okay. When we are doing an example, you'll be able to understand. And then another one will be change, your percentage change in price. The way we were calculating was percentage change in quantity demanded is similar to the way that we are going to calculate a percentage change in price. City change in price divided by average price times 100. That is going to give us the percentage change in what? In price. Okay. So sometimes when you're trying to explain the formula and you did not do any example, it doesn't make sense. Hence, I decided that we should have at least one example. As the examples, I'll make sure that I send them to you via WhatsApp so that you can do them and see if you've actually been able to understand this formula. So the example that I've typed here is when the initial price of a hot dog is 10 rand, quantity demanded is what? Is 100. When the price rises to 20 rands, the quantity demanded decreases to 90. Calculate the elasticity of demand. Now, this means that per hectare shop, by hot dog one 10 rand, abantu bayakwazi uthenga hot dogs as 100, or they demand hot dogs. They are able and willing to pay for hot dogs as 100. But now, when the price of hot dog increases from 10 rand to 20 rand, there gets to be a problem, because now people no longer demand, or they are no longer able and willing to buy hot dogs as 100, but bathenga ezingaphi? Ezi-9. You will remember now that we once said that there's an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded. When the price increases, the demand decreases. When the price decreases, the demand increases. So kukola inverse relationship. So this is also showing that. To calculate this, this is what we are going to do. Let me look for a piece of paper so we calculate. So, quantity demanded first. Abantu, they were demanding 100 hot dogs. After, because of the price change, you had decrease the quantity demanded, yabangubani 90. So we start with the quantity demanded after. Start with after decimal 90. Because it's before decimal 100. Sebo. 90 minus 100 uzasinika our change in quantity demanded. Fine. Then we want our average quantity demanded. In order to get our average quantity demanded, this is out 90 plus 100. Divide the answer here by 2. The average. All of this, when we times 100, that is going to give us the percentage change. I hope that part is clear. Let's see price. We want the change in price. If price here to after being 20, ne, before ibingubani 10. This 20 minus 10 zizasinika our change in price. We want the average price. In order to get the average price, this is out to 20 plus 10 divided by 2. All of this times what? 100. Then that is going to give us, calculating this and calculating this will give us our percentage change in quantity demanded and our percentage change in what? In price. Then what we do is we are going to divide percentage change in quantity demanded the percentage change in price. And then sifumane our elasticity of demand. Okay, let me calculate. Then I'll get back. Okay, so as you can see, guys, I am done calculating. The calculator the first part, which is this one, change in quantity demanded divided by average quantity demanded, and these two, they gave me minus 10 divided by 95. Then the calculator, it change in price divided by average price, and then zanika 10 divided by 15. Of course, you know that after the divide lo minus 10 ngalo 95, I got a number. That number, and I multiply it to 100 because we want to make this a percentage change. Then after dividing 10, after saying 10 divided by 15, I got a number, and that number, and I multiply 100, and then in order to get the percentage change, and that gave me 66.6. All of this now gave me elasticity of demand, which is negative 0.158. Now we will write that as a positive 0.158.